For our survey, we decided to compare the GPA of different sports teams at Millbrook. Our survey consisted of 2 questions. The first was what sports team are you on, and the second was what is your current GPA. To collect the data, we chose 3 varsity sports teams currently in season. The 3 chosen were cross country, soccer, and cheerleading. To ensure accuracy in our results, we used simple random sampling. When looking at the team rosters, we noticed that each team had a different number of players. Cross country had 14, soccer had 24, and cheer had 19. We chose to survey 30% of each team. Cross country would have 4 players chosen to be surveyed, soccer would have 7, and cheer would have 6. In order to give everyone a chance to be selected and surveyed, we assigned each player a number ranging from 1 to the total number of team members in alphabetical order. We then used a graphing calculator to generate random integers, and the first numbers randomly generated that equaled 30% of each team were the players chosen to be the sample. Last, we took the numbers generated and found the corresponding numbers on each roster and gave the survey to those people.
After surveying each subject from each of the teams, it was determined that the cross-country team had the lowest GPA, which was 4.094. The boys soccer team had the highest GPA, which was 4.455, and the GPA for varsity cheerleading was 4.324. We created a box and whisker plot to represent each of the teams. We can see here in the varsity cheerleading box and whisker plot that their data was very evenly distributed, and they had no outliers. The varsity boys box and whisker plot for soccer was very condensed. They didn't have a huge spread between their data, but they did have an outlier of 3.250. This shows that the soccer team's results were very consistent. And the varsity cross-country team had a very spread out box and whisker plot, a little bigger than the cheerleaders one, but they had no outliers. So from this survey, we were trying to figure out which team has the highest GPA, and based on the results we received, that we would conclude the boys varsity soccer team had the highest GPA. But there could be sources of error due to the fact that a different number of subjects from each team were chosen, since we used a proportion of 30% to choose different people from each team. Since the varsity cross-country team only had 14 runners compared to the soccer team, which had 24 players, and cheerleading, which had 19, there were much less subjects chosen for the cross-country team, which could negatively affect the results. Therefore, we can't come to an absolute conclusion and say that the boys soccer team has the highest GPA out of all 3 of these teams. To ensure that the results are accurate, it'd be much better to use a higher proportion to let more subjects have a chance to represent the team. But to make sure the results are perfect, every single subject, every single player or runner from each team would have to be surveyed and GPA gathered to get the accurate GPA to represent each team.